really got some nerve, declaring what you deserve. They probably like, damn it, he got such a way with words.
All right. Peace and power. Shout out Sagittarius. This is why people should stop hating on Sagittarius. Sagittarius brings us together with wisdom, feel me? Like, Libra might keep us together, you know, being that socialite with their, really with their thoughts, you know, more than anything. Sagittarius more so with their experiences, which go hand in hand, but there's a difference between the Libra on your block that might not have ever left the block, but like know everybody on the block, versus the Sagittarius on your block that actually got out the hood or whatever, you know, but still kind of linked to the block, but kind of can come back to the block with all these different experiences and stuff like that. Both of those people are still valid in the hood. It's just that they both bring something different to the table, feel me? Sagittarius got the Jupiter thing going on like Libra. That's where they similar, feel me? That's why I compared them, because they both got that. They both with that expansion. That's not really why I compared them. It's just those two things coincided, feel me? The planet Jupiter, you know, it really be expanding shit for the Jupiters and the Sagittarius is such that, you know, that's a lot of time people think, or people say that Libra is lucky. Sagittarius got a similar kind of luck factor going on, like, you know, and that energy of 9, you know, that energy of 9 and like the 9th house that Sag comes out of, like it's real like ancestral type shit, like, I mean, like, it's real like, you know what I'm saying, those in the 9th dimension is, you know what I'm saying, to get to the 9th dimension, you had to have been a human and really overcome some shit, feel me? So, or should I say, you had to have been in lower dimensions, or, you know what I'm saying, you have had to have been in dimensions 1 through 8 to be in dimension 9, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's Sagittarius is about that, like, I've been there, I've done that, feel me, type of energy that we all could use, feel me? That's what Sagittarius and Virgo. It's gonna come back to Virgo because, like, at the end of the day, this is all my perception of things. So I'm never gonna speak to y'all like I'm the objective truth. The Sagittarius and Virgo will bond over like the kind of teaching energy. Like, Sagittarius is very much the sage, feel me? The sage, not because of sheer intellect, but because of intellect plus experience, which is wisdom, feel me? And people might hate on Sag because they feel like Sag didn't have, you know what I'm saying, like, how are they doing this? The same thing with Libra, like, how are they, you know? But then again, it's like, just like all situations with haters, it really comes down to a them problem, not the Sagittarius's problem, you know? Sagittarius is very much like my midhaven. Yeah, my midhaven is Sagittarius, feel me? You know, so like, yeah, you could, you know, have your own idea of what that means or whatever, but or gather it at least, you know. But yeah, Sagittarius. Um, Sagittarius is gonna get hated on also because they got a style to them. Feel me that like Aries might come out with like the new style that nobody's ever heard of, so people might actually clown Aries because they were so much of an innovator that they're ahead of their time type shit. Leos are like out of the fire signs really. Leos is more than the other fire signs gonna be like more up to date with what's happening now type shit. So Leo's 9 times out of 10 gonna like dress. I don't want to say hype beast because it's not necessarily hype beast. Just because you're aware of what's trending and Leo, you know what I'm saying, doesn't necessarily make you a hype beast. But generally what's trending, Leos are going to be more so into what's trending. Sagittarius is kind of a mixture of both because Sagittarius is going to rock some shit that they found or that they acquired on one of their quests, you know. So it's at the same time going to be something that no one around has heard of before, but it's also not completely new. And it's also not necessarily out of style too. It's still fashionable, feel me? So if you think about that esoterically, feel me, like that's how I kind of differentiate the fire signs, you know. One is more so like the starter of the trend. So they come kind of before it's the actual trend. One is there like with the trends and shit. And then there's Sagittarius, the final one that has a record of trends, you know, in their arsenal that they can pull from type shit. And people is going to hate on that. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know, not especially, but perhaps even the other fire signs for the reasons that I named, you know, as far as how I, you know, would think about how their energy differentiates, you know what I'm saying? Like, but again, it's all, everybody got their own unique chemistries that don't just stop at one sign, like I said before. So, that's all in all why people hate on Sagittarius and why they shouldn't is because Sagittarius is like the griot. Like, Sagittarius is the one who tells what went down. Feel me? The story of the kingdom. You know, going back to the whole analogy of, you know, Aries to whatever. The person who grows old to tell the story of that kingdom, you know what I'm saying? I actually wrote a poem one time about a figure in Greek mythology called Laocoon. Laocoon was a priest in Troy who actually was he wanted to warn the people of Troy about the Trojan horse. That was a real tangent, you know, but that kind of actually was an example of kind of like my Sagittarius midhaven, you know, because I kind of, you know, poetry was something that I kind of built an audience around, you know, my poetry, especially at that time. And poetry was one way that I was using these various experiences that I was able to have visually and mentally with just the things that I knew and relate them to my own experience. So that's kind of one example of kind of how like my Sagittarian energy is in my midhaven. But you know, an example of, you know what I'm saying, somebody probably look at that poem like, why is he writing about Greek mythology? You know, like, we not in Greece, you know. But I guess that's a part of that Sagittarian energy too, is like they're culture connectors, you know, they're ambassadors, you know. Um, yeah, they're very much ambassadors. Um, so yeah, there's more. I'm gonna definitely list that in the part two, because people be calling, you know, there's the lingering phrase Sagittarius. So there's a whole school of thought surrounding hate towards Sagittarius is that I feel like I could break down a little further moving forward. But I just wanted each of these to start off a little bit more lighthearted. Feel me? Like, yeah, I ain't rushing to dive into the deepest end of the pool just yet. You know, cause shit, I'm out here swimming. Feel me? Which yeah, that's why we should stop hating on Sagittarius. You know, like they're, you know, a mutable sign too, like Virgo too, and they might come off mean, you know, in the way that your friend who left the block, if you on the block and you got a friend that left the block and went all these different places, if you think about the vantage point of that person who never left the block, they might look at that person who came back to the block away, like, you know, like, even if they don't want to, it's kind of like a unspoken thing from me, which is a lot of times that's how a lot of haters, you know, are born. You know what I'm saying? Within those, you know, intangible states of being, you know. But yeah, don't hate on Sag because they fly and because they have experiences and because they are almost like a walking museum, you know. They're like walking museums, and depending on your approach to how you feel about museums might inform about how you feel about Sagittarius. You know, um, and some people might think they're flighty, like an Aquarius or like Gemini, perhaps. You know, but flighty in the sense of like a lot, people will also be throwing this stereotype that Sagittarius are cheaters. Because of this idea, energy, they put this energy, and this is where we get to like people take these conversations and they make them toxic, for lack of a better word. They take the energy like they know Sagittarius energy is a lot about changing and moving and kind of multiplying passions, not just switching passions, but multiplying their passions and expanding their reality. And an insecure person, you know what I'm saying, really a hater and an insecure person, these things are synonyms. Not necessarily, because not all insecure people are haters, but all haters are insecure. That's a whole conversation. But because I lost what I was saying, I will instead say, in closing, that Sagittarius are not okay. They're not cheaters as a rule, as a general rule. They're not cheaters. They just, you know, in the same way that Scorpios aren't necessarily like always horny. Feel me? Like sometimes you get the opposite end of that spectrum. Feel me? You know what I'm saying? It's different components and shit like that will make somebody move one way or the other. So yeah, I definitely agree when people be like, oh, you just simplify shit. Oh, just because I'm this sign don't mean I move this way. I agree with that, you know. But Sagittarius You want to check it for yourself. Think about all the Sagittarius. Think about Nicki Minaj. She's a famous Sagittarius. Think about how Nicki Minaj always be changing her voice to the British accent type shit. Like, and she from Trinidad. You know, she's a pop star. She's a pop star in this country that's from another country. Feel me? Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? Jay-Z is probably one of the most famous Sagittariuses in the world. And you know what I'm saying? Most people will look at Jay-Z's life and the word luck will probably come to mind. The word expansion will probably come to mind. Feel me? Almost to the point, both of those people in their respective fields, their peers not all their peers feel like they're the best. Not everybody felt like Jay-Z was the best even at his prime. Not everybody felt like Nicki Minaj was the best even at her prime. But there's something extra that to their lyrics and to their whole thing. There's something extra there that it's not as simple as the mechanics of lyricism. You know what I'm saying? And both of those people actually have explained that in their own words. That, yeah, I'm a very smart person, but this is bigger than smarts. So, yeah, this is why you should stop hating. And those are two Sagittariuses that have a whole discography on why you should, further reasons as to why you should stop hating on Sagittarius. So I would refer you to the Jay-Z and Nicki Minaj discography for credits. But yeah, peace to y'all.